Winston Churchill was a man of many hobbies: painting, bricklaying, butterfly collecting, and writing about aliens. But in 1939, he had to trade his butterfly net for a Thompson submachine gun because Europe was about to become a very messy place. But to understand how we got there, we have to talk about a bald man in Switzerland. Meet Benito Mussolini. In 1902, he moved to Switzerland to avoid military service. He spent his time getting arrested, advocating for violent revolution, and being a general nuisance until the Swiss got tired of him and sent him back to Italy. Then WWI happened. Mussolini realized that war is actually great for a political career if you are the one giving the speeches. He ditched socialism, invented fascism, and told the Italian people, "Hey, remember the Roman Empire? Let's do that again, but with more black shirts and better chin thrusting." In 1922, he marched on Rome. The king, seeing a massive crowd of angry men, said, "You know what? Being prime minister sounds like a great job for you. Please don't hurt me." Meanwhile, Germany was having a rough time. They lost WWI and were handed the Treaty of Versailles, which was basically a giant kick-me sign. They lost land. Their army was capped at 100,000 men, and they owed so much money that people were using wheelbarrows of cash to buy a loaf of bread. Enter a frustrated artist with a very specific mustache, Adolf Hitler. He promised to fix the economy, rip up the treaty, and find someone to blame for everything. By 1933, he was Chancellor. By 1934, he was the Führer. Hitler looked at Mussolini and said, "I like your style. Want to be best friends and conquer the world? Mussolini, only if I get to look cool on a balcony." Hitler, deal. On the other side of the world, Japan was feeling left out. They had no oil, no rubber, and a very large army. They decided the best way to get resources was to simply take them. They invaded Manchuria in 1931, and by 1937, they were in a full-scale, brutal war with China. Now, the Axis was complete: Germany, Italy, and Japan. Three countries who all thought they were the main characters of history. Britain and France saw what was happening and decided to use a strategy called appeasement, which is basically like telling a tiger, "I'll let you eat my left arm if you promise not to eat the rest of me." Hitler took Austria, the Allies. "Hey, stop. Okay, you can keep it, but no more." Hitler took the Sudetenland, the Allies. "Seriously. Sign this paper saying you're done." Hitler, "Sure thing, guys. Pinky promise." And then Hitler immediately crossed his fingers behind his back. Hitler then made a secret deal with his arch-enemy, Joseph Stalin. They agreed to invade Poland together and split it like a pizza. On September 1st, 1939, Germany invaded. Britain and France finally realized the cookie strategy wasn't working and declared war. Then, nothing happened. For 8 months, this was the phony war. The French sat behind their fancy Maginot Line, a giant wall, and the British dropped leaflets instead of bombs. It was like a boxing match where both fighters just stared at each other from across the ring. In May 1940, the staring contest ended. Hitler didn't want to hit the Maginot Line head-on because that would be stupid. Instead, he went around it, through the Ardennes forest, a place the French thought was impenetrable. Turns out, it wasn't. Using blitzkrieg lightning war tanks, planes, and infantry moving at light speed, the Germans bypassed the Allied defenses. The British Army got cornered at Dunkirk and barely escaped, thanks to a fleet of civilian fishing boats. In just 6 weeks, France one of the world's great powers surrendered. Hitler even made them sign the surrender in the exact same train car where Germany had surrendered in WWI. Petty? Yes. Effective? Also yes. Now, Britain stood alone. Hitler expected Churchill to surrender. Churchill responded with, "We shall fight them on the beaches. We shall fight them in the streets. We shall never surrender." Hitler launched Operation Sea Lion, the invasion of Britain. But first, he had to win the skies. The Luftwaffe hammered British ports and cities in what became known as the Blitz. Londoners lived in subway stations. Children were sent to the countryside, and the RAF flew until they literally ran out of pilots. But because the British had radar and a lot of grit, they held on. Hitler got frustrated, postponed the invasion, and decided to go poke a different bear, the Soviet Union. By late 1940, the Nazis controlled almost all of Europe. The UK was broke and bruised. Japan was eyeing the Pacific, and the USA was still sitting on the sidelines saying, "Looks tough, guys. Good luck with that." The world was on fire, and the real World War was only just beginning. Next time, we go to the frozen tundras of Russia and the tropical islands of the Pacific. But for now, maybe go learn something on Skillshare before the world ends?